So get this. They started a website to help fans keep up with the show just shifting. It was moved to a weekday slot, but it was just too late. Apatow said NBC refused to put the website on any of the ads because they didn't want people to know the internet existed. They were worried about losing viewers to it.
Wake up to a new morning, pop in a little nostalgia, just be kind and listen to the rewind.
Welcome back to the Rewind Podcast, the show that explores TV and film through a queer millennial lens. I'm Keenan.
And I'm Jonah.
Jonah. I am so excited. Okay, so we did your Cancel Cast episode last week, and now we're doing mine. I say last week, y'all are hearing it a week later. As you can tell, we're wearing the same thing because we recorded it the same day.
Yeah, it's still this week for us.
Yes. So before I give you the name of my show, because I'm very excited about it, I'm just going to jump right into the credits because I feel like the credits to the show is so freaking iconic. Jonah, so you're not spoiled. Close your eyes.
This is exciting. I feel like you're about to give me a present.
I was thinking the other day and I was like, I was looking and I was like, where is, I wanted to make sure I didn't do it already. I don't think I did.
Yeah, I considering we don't have like a ton of episodes per season and we haven't done a ton of Cancel Cast, but for some reason I really struggle with remembering what I've covered when I haven't.
Yeah. You ready?
Ready.
1, 2, 3. Okay. Freaks and Geeks is such a good show. Star-studded cast. Like ridiculously famous. I mean, problematic cast member here.
Yeah. But we love all the rest.
Yes, everyone in the show has gone on to so much. But this show,
Seth Rogen was hot back then.
Yeah, chubby Seth Rogen was everything. He was so cute. Martin Starr Bill, my favorite. And I'll probably say that 5 more times before the end of this episode because Bill is the best character in this show. I mean,
I love it. It really is an iconic theme song. And for it to have been such a short series, it is super iconic. But you're probably going to get into all it, so I don't want to steal your thunder.
Yes. Okay. So, Freaks and Geeks is an American teen comedy drama, yes, a dramedy, if you will, TV series with 1 season that was broadcasted September 25th, 1999 to October 17th, 2000 on NBC. The show was canceled after only 12 episodes aired. 6 further episodes had already been produced, and they were aired later when the show was picked up for syndication. In the 2000s decade, the TV series achieved cult status as it was repeatedly ranked among the best TV shows. In the series, a high school mathlete starts hanging out with a group of burnouts while her younger brother navigates his freshman year. So, Freaks and Geeks was created by Paul Feig of Bridesmaids and Ghostbusters fame. You might recognize this gentleman as Mr. Gene Poole from Sabrina the Teenage Witch, her science teacher.
Oh.
Yeah. So I've been rewatching Designing Women, and he showed up as like a random like extra in an episode, and I was like, why does this guy look familiar? And then here I am researching the show, and I was like, shut up. Here he is. The show was also executive produced by Judd Apatow of 40-Year-Old Virgin and Knocked Up fame. The show also doesn't help him in repeating his rap about not hiring people of color. His movies are very white. And as far as I could tell, like, I know that he's been kind of called out on it. I don't know what his responses have been to that. But if you start looking at Judd Apatow projects, you're like, there's maybe 1 Black person or like a person of color or 2 in the shows. So the show really captured like the painfully awkward life as a teen, but it found the comedy in those moments and it kept that drama balance. So we're going to talk about how the show came into being and then what caused it to falter. Paul Feig and Judd Apatow met in the mid-'80s on the comedy scene. That's so funny. It says comfy scene in my notes, which means that I did not type comedy correctly, and it was autocorrected to comfy. So they met in the mid-'80s in the comedy scene in LA. Flash forward to the late 90s. Apatow has a deal with DreamWorks Television. And so he's like trying to create shows. He's out scouting and all this other stuff. And he bumps into Feig and he's like, oh, like, hey, how have you been? I have this thing going on with DreamWorks. So like, hit me up if you ever have any ideas for TV. Feig thinks later on, well, in fact, I do. So when he left or lost his job at Sabrina, he decided he really wanted to go into writing, and he worked on a high school drama. He said, I don't see shows that depict life the way I experienced it as a high schooler, because he is a self-described geek, and everything else focuses on the pretty popular people. And he said, I want to do something that is more real. And you can even see that in the first episode. So like the show opens and you see these like popular pretty kids on the bleachers talking about their life. And then the camera continues to go down and it goes underneath the bleachers to where all the freaks are hanging out. And that's where you start meeting.
Yeah.
It was so well done in that way. He bumped into Feig. Hey, let me know if you have something. Feig goes, oh, maybe I do. He'd written this semi-autobiographical script depicting a true reflection of high school. He has his wife take a look over the script, and she's like, oh, if you do not call Judd, I don't know what's going to happen. Like, call that man right now. He gets the script to Judd Apatow, and within 12 hours, he's like, I love it. I'm going to sell this to DreamWorks. They're going to buy it. So the then head of DreamWorks Television said within 24 hours of them putting it out, they had gotten passed by Fox, CBS, and ABC. But a development executive with NBC by the name of Shelley McCrory reaches out, and she's like, quote, if we don't make this show, I'm quitting the television business.
Oh, wow. What a way to fall on the sword.
I know. Okay. So the interim president of NBC.
Sidebar,
yes.
I'm really surprised Fox didn't pick this up, because it feels like something they would really like for their catalog.
So just a year prior to this show coming out, Fox is already airing That 70s Show. Okay. And so that 70s show has so many similarities. Like, I think that 70s, you never know like what year the 70s. You're just like, it's late 70s right now.
They're just floating through the 70s.
Yeah, Freaks and Geeks takes place the school year of 1980, 1981. So the 80-81 school year, which, in vibe is still very 70s, because that's just how the decades work. Like the first couple of years of that new decade is still like, over. Yeah, exactly. I want to say, I think that 70s show is also set in Michigan. Is that true? I can't remember. Freaks and Geeks is set in Michigan. And I think
it's in the theme song, right?
It's in Wisconsin.
So
I guess, are those still both Midwest? Is Michigan considered Midwest? I
think so.
Okay.
Sure.
So, it was like very Midwestern kind of vibes for both shows. So the interim president of NBC, of the West Coast, NBC West Coast, he deferred to his team. He wasn't a content guy, but Shelley told our creators, don't change a thing. We love it. This is what I want you to make this show. Feig and Apatow were like, okay, well, we want to hire real kids, not TV kids. And Network's like, bet, we're on board. Whatever you want to do, make it happen. So the only changes that came to the real script came because Feig is a self-identified geek, as I said earlier. So he understood the geeks more than the freaks, and there needed to be a little bit more to flesh out the freaks' characters. So as they were casting their unique characters, they rewrote the pilot using the personal stories and personalities of the people they cast in those roles. And what I love about the show, so what I love about the show is, as it goes through, everyone pretty much has an episode that's centric to what they're dealing with and gives you like a window into their life. So let's talk about casting. Who is in this show? We have Velma herself, Linda Cardellini. I always mess up her last name, as Lindsay Weir, a 16-year-old lead. Linda was 23 or 24 when she was cast in this role. Think
Get
of
out!
yeah. So think
Wow.
of Lindsay as this like rebelling teen. She's like questioning everything that she's known, and all the while, like while she's trying to rebel, she genuinely doesn't want to disappoint her parents, but she's just making wild choices left and right. And sometimes I'm like, is she just a pick me? Like, is she, because she's giving off these vibes of like she wants these freaks to like be her friend. She wants to be a part of their clique. So she's just kind of going along with everything, even though you can look on her face and know that she knows what she's doing is wrong. She's like, yeah, okay, like, sure, I'll have a party at my house. Like, sure, I'll do this thing. Sure, I'll smoke weed with you. Like, so, but I'm like, I don't know if she's giving me pick me or if she's just like a teenager who's like, originally the way the story was told is that she's sitting with her grandmother as her grandmother is passing, and she asks her grandmother if she sees a light, and her grandmother says no, and that makes her question everything about this life that she has been brought up in. They don't
Oh,
tell
that's
that
beautiful.
they don't tell that in the um pilot, and I'm still making my way back through because I have this memory of them mentioning that later on in the show. So I'm like 2 episodes away from finishing the show, and they haven't talked about it yet. But that is what goes into explaining where Lindsay is at the top of the show. And when you don't have that bit of like context, you're like, okay, so she's just rebelling now. Is that what's going on? But it's like this thing has happened that really has like shaken the foundation of who she is.
Okay.
James Franco plays Daniel Desario. Apatow says about this character and casting him, quote, he seemed perfect to be a small town cool guy who wasn't as cool as he thought he was.
Oh, which, strangely enough, is actually James Franco.
Yeah. Then you have Seth Rogen as Kim Miller, who's this kind of like sarcastic, deadpan. He is just the friend. He's a good friend, and I think the more you get to know this character, you're like, oh, he's just like, he's a much nicer guy. He just has a very hard exterior. James Siegel plays Nick and I'm sorry.
Sorry, I was just gonna comment to say that perfectly fits his actual personality. Because
Seth
if you ever
Rogen.
see him, yeah, if you ever see him in like interviews or just like in passing, like he in podcasts or whatever, like he has that
Mhm.
same sort of vibe, and you see it a lot in his other work too.
Yeah. Let's see. Jason Segel plays Nick Andopoulos, pothead and drummer. Just kind of the aimlessly wandering friend of Ken and Daniel. And his father, I want to say, is like in the military. So he has this very strict upbringing, but he is a burnout and doesn't have a lot of confidence in himself. And as the show progresses, you see him kind of like clean up his act. And I know he eventually joins like the basketball team or something. So this is going to happen after the episode that I'm probably watching right now. So he goes to just like, I gotta get my act together because he likes Lindsay. Lindsay ends up in the situation where she's dating him, but all the while she's like, oh, I don't want to be doing this. And so when the opportunity came to break up with him, she was able to do that. But I think they eventually just become really good friends. And him wanting to impress her, he starts to clean up his act. Busy Phillips plays Kim Kelly, who's the tough girlfriend of Daniel. Initially, she's Lindsay's op, and then she ends up, like becoming her good friend. She has a rough background. There's an episode called Kim Kelly is My Friend that was banned on NBC and didn't get played until it was in syndication later because they thought it was a rough depiction of home life for teens. And after rewatching the episode, I'm like, yes, it was bad, but I don't think it was like, we can't show this episode bad. So those are your freaks. Then we go to your geeks. You have John Francis Daly, who was cast as the 14-year-old Sam. It's Lindsay's brother who's trying to hold on to his childhood while navigating, high school. So he has his two best friends, Sam Levine, who plays Neil Schreiber, and Martin Starr, who plays Bill Haverchuck. These are three like typical little geeky kids. They love Star Wars. They love all sorts of science fiction and comic books, and they have rockets and they go like launch their rockets on the weekend. Like they're just good friends who are now teens, and they have to navigate this. Like, I still want to play with my friends, but there's also this girl that I have a huge crush on, and I don't know how to handle that. Sam has Neil has a storyline where his dad is cheating on his wife, so he's like trying to navigate that. Bill is just like the one who presents most outwardly as a geek, but he has more self-confidence than any other person on the show. He's secure in himself. Like there's one episode where they decide to go trick-or-treating at 14. They're like, we're trick-or-treating. And he dresses up as the Bionic Woman, like full like drag. He's just in full drag.
Oh, that's hilarious.
And I was like, Bill, just it's such a good and it's not
my own heart.
Yeah, and it's just not like talked about like, why are you dressing up like a girl? They're like, who are you? It's like, clearly I'm the Bionic Woman. But he's just like in his mom's, like you see him getting dressed in his mom's closet. It's so cute.
Love it.
And so you have your POV characters, the Weir family. So Lindsay and her brother Sam, and their parents, Jean and Harold, played by Becky Ann Baker and Joe Flaherty, respectively. They are the perfect like 80s parents, and I love them. And the success of this show is due to the chemistry of the cast. It's just so good. Think about all these names and where they are now. They've all done stuff, and they're still doing stuff. It's crazy. It's crazy. So you have your cast. There's a whole bunch of random people that come in for one-off episodes, like a Shia LaBeouf, a Rashida Jones you see in the show, Leslie Mann. Like,
oh wow!
If they were in a Judd Apatow movie, 9 times out of 10 they were in this show.
Wait, how old was Shia LaBeouf then?
He was a youngin'. He auditioned as Sam. So yeah, he was the little one. So this would have been like either during the early Even Stevens or before he was on Even Stevens, because he was little.
I feel like he would have had to have been around my age at the time. I think we were about the same age. So I would have been, 99, 2000? That was like 10 to 11. For me.
Let's see. Shia LaBeouf was 13. Yeah. So he would have been the right age. Yeah. And then Even Stevens came shortly afterwards. So that makes sense. That fully tracks. So let's talk about the road to cancellation. Okay. So there is now a new head of NBC, West Coast division. So he's the one that's going to be pulling the strings on all the TV stuff. His name is Garth Ansier. He rolls in from the WB network, working on shows like Seventh Heaven and Dawson's Creek. And he looks at this show and is like, I don't get it. Also, this man who was weighing in on a high school show, he didn't even go to like high school. He went to a boarding school. So he didn't even understand like how high. Yeah, right. So,
and public high school. Public high school is very different from private high school.
Exactly. So the ratings for this show were under 7 million. And to kind of put that in perspective of what they're looking for, shows like Friends and Frasier were pulling in over 14 million viewers each. And you know how big ratings numbers were in this time. They start off with a bad time slot. They're put on this high school show. It's put on Saturday night at 8 p.m.
Come on. It's like they didn't even want it to be successful.
So they air 2 episodes, and then it's off for a month for a re-airing of the World Series. Then it's on for a few more episodes. Then it's pulled for the holidays. And then on top of that...
Why wouldn't they just wait until after the World Series? And
after the holidays and just let it start in like February? Yeah. So
Yeah.
after the holidays, they have a little bit more inconsistent airing. They're put up against Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, which think about who the numbers Who Wants to Be a Millionaire was pulling in 99, 2000.
It was really hot. Yeah.
Yeah, there are a couple of other shows that I was reading in a different article before we hopped on. And of course, I didn't write them down. I was like, oh, I'll remember that. And I don't remember. But there were other shows like Cops that were hot at the time. And
Yeah,
then
because that's what like middle-aged demographics were watching. Like our parents
right,
were watching those.
exactly. And by the time they move it to I believe it was like a Monday or Tuesday night, it was just too late to find an audience. Feig. They started a website to help fans keep up with the show just shifting. Believes the nail in the coffin was when they were put up against the Mary and Rhoda reunion, which aired on ABC opposite the airing of their 10th episode.
Wait, that's what did them in with Mary and Rhoda, a reunion show?
Yeah, the Mary Tyler Moore show was very big and people love Rhoda. So, I mean, when you're already on this show that was struggling to find its audience and it keeps getting moved, so your audience can't keep up with where it is. And when you think you find a spot that you're going to be in, ABC is like, oh, but we got this thing coming that people have been waiting on. Because reunions like that really, I guess, weren't as big then. So, like, this probably felt like a big ordeal to put, Mary and Rhoda. Yeah, Rhoda, who had, if I'm not mistaken, a successful spinoff series. Like I know that Rhoda existed because of Nick at Night, but I don't know like how big her solo show was.
Yeah.
So get this. They started a website to help fans keep up with the show just shifting. It was moved to a weekday slot, but it was just too late. Apatow said NBC refused to put the website on any of the ads because they didn't want people to know the internet existed. They were worried about losing viewers to it. So I'm like, I guess they really should have been preparing for the streaming wars. Like, if you thought this was something that could happen, why were you not preparing?
That's insane to me. Like, I mean, what did they? Yeah, I mean, but streaming didn't come along until much later, and it's not like there was a lot on the internet to watch.
Yeah, and I mean, even still, like maybe 10, not even a full 10 years from that, when did Veronica Mars air? Because there's an episode where they kind of start talking about the popularity of streaming growing. So like that's kind of my benchmark to when people had regular access to streaming video. But if I'm not
Veronica
mistaken,
Mars aired in 2004.
Okay. So by 2006, 2007, 2008, networks like the WB/CW, I guess, were having people like on MySpace, then Facebook, engaging with fans. And then when like Twitter was the big thing, like sometimes these actors were required to tweet. Like this was a part of what they're supposed to do. So I'm like, well, if they had just embraced the internet sooner, would that have helped the show? On top of this, there was a constant battle to make things more upbeat and less depressing. So they wanted the characters to have more wins, but that was not the purpose of the show. And there aren't always wins in real life. Show writer Brian Gordon said, the show played silences, and television is afraid of silences. But silences just speak to so much about teenagers, which I thought was a really good quote. The show had 18 episodes. It was canceled after 12. Jason Segel said, we didn't really have to be told we were being canceled. We watched the craft service table. It started out with like cold cuts and delicious snacks. And and it was reduced to half a thing of creamer and some corn pops. Like, damn.
And I know he's probably been like making like a joke, but also probably that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Wow.
So let's see. The decision.
You know what that's called? That's called like selling a product you don't believe in. Like that executive.
Well, what happens is when it was greenlit, it was under this guy, something Sassa, who, like I said earlier, like he was not a content person. He was defaulting to his people. And then this new guy comes in and He comes in by the time the show is ready to air. So he wasn't there during the casting, during the filming, any of that. By the time it's ready to air, this new guy's like,
which is probably a good thing.
Right. So the decision came after Sasa. So the original guy who was like defaulting to the like his team had gotten elevated even higher, and he had gotten a hold of the series finale. And in the season finale, Lindsay Weir ditches out on this summer college program that she's accepted to follow the Grateful Dead with Kim Kelly. And almost end of season 2 Buffy scene, like the close of the show is us seeing our main character leave town on a bus.
They just saw it done like in Buffy and they were like, let's do that.
Yeah. So Apatow believes that Sasa saw this and he thought the show would never be commercial. We're not going to be able to make money with this show, like on ads and such. MTV offered to pick up the show, but they just didn't have the budget to keep the same quality. The show was eventually picked up on Fox Family, but just for syndication. And that is where all 18 episodes were made available, including the banned episode, Kim Kelly Is My Friend, which I wrote in my notes. In hindsight, is not as pearl clutching as they acted it was. So I'm going to pull a scene from Kim Kelly Is My Friend to show you.
Okay. I'm curious. I mean, I don't understand why the budget wouldn't have been achievable for them, because it's not like there was special effects. It's not like they were paying high salaries. They're all like kids on TV or like relatively lesser known. So why was the budget so high?
I don't know if it was just the sheer amount of people, because though you have the Weirs as your POV characters, there's like 7 characters who are in every episode. Because Busy Phillips' character is in every episode, but let me see. It was so the 3 guys, the 3 freak guys, the 3 nerd guys, and Lindsay. So those are 7 people who are in every episode. And I guess maybe with like location shoots and all that other stuff, maybe they were just like, oh, y'all got to put this on a set and cut this, your cast in half. Because that's what happened with Superman and Lois for the last season. They had to cut a lot of people, so there weren't as many characters on the screen.
A lot of people got killed off.
Nice. No, they just moved on. And to be honest, I think that was a good thing for them, because our main characters got a little bit more screen time. We weren't having to cut away to keep up with all these other people. Though there were people they were cutting away to keep up with, and I was like, I don't care about this story. Take me back to Lois, please. So in this episode of Kim Kelly Is My Friend, Kim lies to her mom about Lindsay. Wait, I'm trying to remember what she basically like told her mom that they were at Lindsay's family's vacation house. And that's where she was like last weekend. And then she's like, okay, so lie to my mom, tell her this is where I was, yada, yada, yada. And her mom starts asking a bunch of questions. And then like is eventually like, are you fucking kidding me, girl? Get your shit together. Go.
Hi there. You must be Lindsay. Kim? Pick up any soda? I forgot. Well, I forgot to make you dinner. How do you like that? Come on in.
Me as a parent.
You're a genius. She hanging on to your life. BS. I get good grades. Oh, I hate to blow your mind, sister, but these are not good.
I told you my history teacher was a pervert. I wasn't about to go to his house after school.
Can it, Kim? You're gonna wake up Chip. You got a vacation house up there in Benton Harbor?
Mm-hmm.
That must be nice, huh? The family must be very wealthy. Well, we don't live in a mansion here, as you can see. We don't have a swimming pool and tennis court the way you do. I want to take your time with that. I love relieving myself behind a shower curtain. How long you had that house up there in Benton Harbor, Lindsay?
Oh, a few years.
Yeah. You know, I did waitress up there one summer, so I know the area pretty good. Where's your house at?
It's by the water.
Yeah. What neighborhood?
Benton Harbor Street.
You are a lying brat.
You guys just can't believe that I can make a friend who's rich and smart.
Well, she's not smart. She's a bum. It's this car. You're driving around town. You're tramping up in that car. I know what you do.
Yeah, well, you should know. I learned it from you, fat ass.
That's it. We're selling the car.
Yeah, Kathy, get me that car.
Oh, yeah? Well, your Aunt Kathy spent $1,000 of my money snorting up a a nose. So as far as I'm concerned, that car is mine. Fine. Out of here. You are never coming back here. Look at this.
Okay, so this clip cuts a lot out of it. Because there's like a whole bit of her like trying to wrestle the keys from her mom, then wrestle the keys from her stepdad, while Lindsay's like running to the car, like and he's trying to get Lindsay to open the door, and she's like rolling up the windows. Like it is wild. It's wild, but like that was banned. That was a banned episode that NBC was like, no, this is too much. We can't.
If only they could see into the future and watch Euphoria.
Right.
That went to 100 so fast. From 0 to 100.
Yes.
That mom, the one who plays that mom, I really like her. She is such a phenomenal actress. I'm pretty sure she's won an Emmy for The Handmaid's Tale because she plays like they call her Aunt something.
She's the one that McDowd. Is that her name?
No, that's not Andy McDowell.
Well, McDowd. Is that McDowd?
Oh, yeah, I think that is her.
Okay, so I'm just gonna go through some of the like people who've shown up in this show. Matt Suzuki, who plays Logan Huntsberger on Gilmore Girls, is in the show.
Okay.
And what else? Let's see. There's another girl named Alexandra Breckenridge who does an episode. She's in The Walking Dead. An actor named Kevin Corrigan was in this episode, in another episode as Kim's cousin. Not only has he been in Pineapple Express and The King of Staten Island, he was in a TV show called Grounded for Life, where he played the dirtbag brother. It was essentially the same, very much like the character he plays in the
love Grounded for Life.
Such a good show.
Oh, good.
So good. Rashida Jones was in an episode of this. I don't need to give her all her things that we know. Rashida Jones. David Krumholtz plays Barry Schreiber. He's Neil's brother. He's recently been in Oppenheimer. He's in something called The Ballad of Buster Scruggs and Hail Caesar. We have Shia LaBeouf, as I said earlier. I don't need to give Shia's things. You have Leslie Mann, who was in 40-Year-Old Virgin and Knocked Up, and Georgia the Jungle. Jason Schwartzman was on an episode of this show, which we know he was in Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. He was in Scott Pilgrim versus the World, Funny People, Asteroid City, The Darjeeling Limited. Ann Dowd is her name. Ann Dowd plays Cookie Kelly. She is Aunt Lydia Clements in The Handmaid's Tale. She's also in The Leftovers, and she's in Hereditary, which you've seen that, right? Like that's yeah. And Ben Stiller has done an episode of the show.
Yeah, I saw that. I also noticed Lizzie Kaplan.
Oh, see, I mean, there's just been so much.
Sarah Hagen. Do you know Sarah Hagen? No,
stop it! Shut up! That's on my notes.
Okay, sorry. I'm sorry.
How do you think that I was going to ignore her? She's actually.
I don't know. I did.
She's one of the most popular recurring characters on the show. She's on, of the recurring characters, she's probably on more than most. But I wanted to go just a small bit from an article on Screen Rant where they tell every key player in Freaks and Geeks has gone on to success in huge projects. This includes quite a few of them joining the Marvel Cinematic Universe, including Martin Starr, who's been in the Spider-Man trilogy. He plays one of the teachers at the school. Linda Cardellini plays, she's old dude's wife, and she's
Hawkeye, Jimmy Renner.
Yes. John Francis Daly co-wrote Spider-Man Homecoming, and I was like, oh wow. And then they go on to give some of the other credits for some of the people. Sam Levine, who plays Neil, was in Inglourious Bastards in 2009 and something called Movie Trivia Schmodown. That sounds fun. Jason Segel, of course, we know him from How I Met Your Mother, Forgetting Sarah Marshall, I Love You Man, The Muppets, and Shrinking. Phillips was in Dawson's Creek, Cougar Town, and Girls 5 Eva, which I've still not seen. James Franco was in the original Spider-Man trilogy, Pineapple Express, 127 Hours, Rise of the Planet of the Apes, and This Is the End. And Seth Rogen, of course, Knocked Up, Superbad, Neighbors, The Interview, Long Shot, and Pam and Tommy. Where am I going? Gotta find my thing. So let's talk about some of the awards, because these folks were getting, for like just a year's of work, there were lots of award nominations. So the series received 3 Emmy Award nominations. Creator Paul Feig was nominated twice for Outstanding Writing for a Comedy Series for the episode Pilot and Discos and Dragons, and 1 for Outstanding Casting for a Comedy Series. It was also nominated for 2 Television Critics Association Awards for New Program of the Year and Outstanding Achievement in Drama. For acting, the series won Best Family TV Series Comedy and was nominated for Best Performance in a TV Series, Young Ensemble at the Young Artist Awards. For the Young Star Awards, John Francis Daley and Sarah Hagan was nominated for Best Young Actor Performance in a Comedy TV Series, and the ensemble was nominated for the Best Young Ensemble Cast Television. The series also received several other nominations in other categories, and of course, we know Sarah Hagan as the potential Amanda from Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yeah, hated her.
The series appeared on Time Magazine's 2007 100 Greatest Shows of All Time list and placed 3rd on the magazine's list of greatest television shows of the 2000s. In 2004 and 2007, Freaks and Geeks ranked number 25 and number 21 respectively on TV Guide's Top Cult Shows Ever. In 2008, Entertainment Weekly ranked it the 13th best series of the past 25 years. The same year, AOL TV named it the best school show of all time. In 2013, TV Guide included it in its list of the 60 greatest dramas of all time and ranked it number 1 on their list of 60 shows that were canceled too soon. In 2016, it was named the 11th greatest television series of all time by Rolling Stone.
Wow.
Freaks and Geeks has a tomato meter rating of 100% and a popcorn meter rating of 96%.
Wow.
Yes.
That's impressive.
Absolutely beloved show. So I'm going to go over just a few little trivia points, and then I'm going to wrap with a quote from Sam Levine, because I just love what he said about the show in an interview. So, series producer Judd Apatow told Vanity Fair in 2012, whenever he sees an opportunity to use anyone from the show, he does, which we all know. It is his way of refusing to accept that the show was canceled and that all of his subsequent movies are the continuous adventures of those characters.
Oh, that's fun.
The Vanity Fair article was one of my sources, and let me tell you, it's so good. There's a point where I feel like Judd and Paul had it felt like their responses seemed a little tense in the later parts of when the show's getting canceled, but I will link that in the sources for this episode. John Francis Daley is the only cast member to be the age of his character 14 during filming. The actors improvised lines in many of the scenes to achieve a sense of reality, and that makes so much sense. I think especially a lot of Busy Phillips' outbursts makes so much sense. Busy Phillips originally auditioned for the part of Lindsay Weir. The producers did not think she was right for the part, but asked her to try out for the supporting role of Kim Kelly. About halfway through the season, it was evident that the show was in danger of being canceled. The rest of the episodes were put on hold while the actors wrote and filmed the final episode, which was written in a way as to serve as both a series finale if the show was canceled and a season finale if the show would have gotten picked up for a second season several episodes later and was canceled.
Wait,
Sarah
did you say
Hagan.
the actors wrote the finale?
Oh, I probably said actors, and I meant to say creators.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I probably said actors though, because my brain. Sarah Hagan and Natasha Melnick were only 15 old when filming. Linda Cardellini, I don't know why I wanted to say Cardinelli. I've always wanted to say Cardinelli. Is Cardellini, was 24. And you can tell that she is old, especially in her scenes with Millie. You can really tell that she's older, but it kind of works because Millie is her more innocent friend who's just a little bit more pure. She has strong like morals, and she's like, I don't do drugs. She participates in the don't drink and drive acting skits at school. She's a mathlete. She's just like a good kid. And so the innocence of her youth really works in those scenes with her former best friend, Lindsay Weir, who is going through life trying to be a cool kid. The show was canceled after the airing of Chokin' and Token, which was a good episode. In that episode, Bill admits that he is allergic to peanuts in class, and these bullies they're like, I bet he's lying about it. So they put peanuts on his sandwich when he is like away from the table, and then he has to go to the hospital. Like he is rushed to the hospital.
Wow.
But in this, they kind of reveal like the main bully, like this bully that has been their op throughout the show. You see, he was like, he sneaks into the room to like apologize and like, please don't be dead. It's not like y'all were ever nice to me. Like when we were in 4th grade, I thought you were cool, and I wanted to like fire rockets with y'all, and you said no. So I'm supposed to just be nice to you now. It was like, wow, the trauma. And so
like
he's
a
been
villain
like their
origin
bully.
story.
Yes. And so like when Bill wakes up and the guy is like back in there, he's talking. Bill's like, I heard you, like I get you. You want to be my friend. You care about me. And he's like, stop it. No, I didn't say that, blah, blah, blah. And Bill's like, listen, we're all going to, the science fiction convention this weekend, and if you want to go, we're meeting at Sam's house, so like come hang out with us. Like he offers that olive branch. And at the end of the episode, you see Alan kind of like at the end of the driveway on this bike, and he's like, I just can't do it, and he like leaves. And I was like, yeah, this could have made a good ending for the show. It could have made a decent ending. Like nothing to do with Lindsay's character, but I think in that story that they were telling with Alan and our geek trio. Yeah.
It would have been a good wrap up with theirs.
So nearly everything that happens to the characters happens to Paul Feig or other members of the crew. For example, there's an episode where Sam goes to school in this like this French like leisure suit, like their like disco kind of outfit, and Paul was like, that was me, that I went to school wearing something very similar to that. And I'm like, oh my god. During the opening credits, you can see James Franco and Jason Segel vigorously rubbing their eyes to give them a stoner look. You can also see Seth Rogen smiling before his class picture, which he takes with a grumpy look, allowing viewers to see this was intentional, as it was a common trend in the 80s to harmlessly sabotage one's yearbook photo. And to wrap this up before I tell you where it's streaming, I want to give this quote that Sam Levine, who played Neil Schreiber, gave in the summer of 2000 on CNN. He says, it doesn't matter if it's 1950 or 1980 or 2000. Kids still deal with the same things, and I think we really nailed that. And I think that was.
I think society would agree, because you hear Freaks and Geeks like referenced all the time as like one of the most realistic like coming of age series, right?
Yeah. And that honestly was the biggest bit of drama that they had with the network, was the fact that they wanted the show to be like a TV show. And they're like, that's not what
They
we're
wanted it to
doing.
feel like a TV show.
Yeah, they're like, no, we want these kids to like win. We want them to get with the girl. We want them to like, be able to go to the concert and get an A on the test. Like we don't want them arguing with the counselor or whatever. There was even a big to do because Franco's character wears like a beanie in a lot of the episodes, and they're like, no, we have to see his hair. You have to make him presentable and handsome. And it's like, that's not the character.
Yeah, they clearly didn't get the show.
Yeah. But I mean, the critics got it, the audience got it. I've seen a couple of things about what would be happening in season 2. I don't really like what they do with Lindsay, or what they said would be going on with Lindsay. So she's leaving to like go tour, follow this Grateful Dead concert over the summer. What I was reading said like the show would start with her in the hospital because she OD'd at a concert. And I'm like, are you kidding me? There's an episode where she smokes weed. She's like super paranoid about it. And then she talks about how she doesn't like doing weed, like smoking weed, because it makes her paranoid. I just feel like that would have kept her from doing other drugs, maybe. But she's also kind of a pick me. So I'm sure if someone's like, come on, it's cool, just do it. She probably would have done it to be with the cool kids. It's old Lindsay Weir. But Bill Haverchuck is my favorite. We love Bill Haverchuck. It was really rough to see him be, spoilers for the Veronica Mars movie, it was rough to see him be the bad man in the Veronica Mars movie, shooting at Kristen Bell. It was like, no, not Bill. Bill grew up to be a bad man. I also believe he was on that show Party Down. Have you ever seen that? It's really funny.
Yes, I have. Yeah, because Lizzie Kaplan and Adam Scott are in that too, right? Or am I thinking of something else?
Wait, Adam Scott is, I don't think I know who Lizzie Kaplan is.
Lizzie Kaplan, well, in this show, she played someone called Sarah, but Lizzie Kaplan's from Mean Girls.
Oh, yes. Okay, I never knew her name. But whatever episode she was on, I was like, oh, it's Janice Ian.
Yep.
Yeah, so I'm like, it's really like, I feel like every episode you're going to be like, oh, I recognize that person. Oh my God. So many people.
Well, plot twist, I have seen it. Well, I've seen like the first couple episodes, I think. I so desperately wanted to like it.
You didn't like it?
It didn't hit for me for some reason. I think I went into it because the bar had been raised so high for it, because in pop culture, that I went into it with a really hyper elevated sense of what to expect, and it didn't deliver that for me. I don't know. I think maybe at the time when it was actually airing, had I watched it, I would have really been into it and found it really relatable. But like fast forward to the late 2000s, like I don't know, it just didn't. And I'll give it another shot, because I love this cast. I love all of these like guest stars and stuff. Like, and that clip you showed me was really enjoyable. So I would definitely try to watch it again. It just, for some reason, when I tried, I just couldn't stick with it,
I am lucky that I think I caught it before it really hit its cult status. I caught it before like internet fandoms in that way. So I was watching it, like my roommate had the box set, and she was
not
like,
the box set.
Yes, she was like, have you ever heard of this show? And I was like, I've never seen it, never heard of it, but I know almost every person on this box, like at least all the freaks. I was like, I know all of these people. That's Velma, for Christ's sakes. So she puts it in, and I was hooked from the theme song. Like the theme song got me lit, and I was like, okay, I'm here for it. I get this story. I am ashamed to say that I was drawn to Franco's cheekbones and his face And then I was like,
Mhm.
okay. And as the years go by, we start hearing all the things about Franco. And I'm like, oh, so he's trash. That
Yeah, that's
tracks.
how it goes, right?
So, yeah. So, yeah, like when I was saying there are so many parallels between our shows, like the network not really knowing what to do with it and not knowing how to place it. You have a sexual predator in the cast.
Yeah.
I can't remember the other things. I should have been writing them down because I was like, so does my show. So does my show. All
Oh,
this stuff. It is
that's wild.
crazy. Even a Buffy link.
Yes. That is
So
so funny. I love that. I didn't even think about that actually.
yeah, so like there's a Buffy connection, there's a shitty man connection, there's a network being trash connection. Like
Yeah, it just there was just so
and
many.
also in the Vanity Fair article that I was reading, Judd Apatow was like, this show really belonged on like HBO or like a streamer, and I think it would have done much better if it was like in a streaming environment. And I'm like, yeah. Which I think was just a super humble way of saying my show was before its time.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it was very diplomatic of a
Yeah.
response, right?
But what I
I
also think was really interesting is that so many of the people went on to write and direct because Apatow was always telling them like writing and producing is where it's at. And I think he
Mhm.
really drilled that into a lot of them and yeah, they're all like super big and stuff. And I don't know if you've ever looked up John Francis Daly. I don't know if he's gotten like um taller, but he's
He's
pretty.
cute. Oh no, I've always liked him because was oh he was actually in Bones. He starred another sort
Yes.
of semi Buffy connection. He starred
Uh-huh.
alongside David Boreanaz.
Yes. I saw that. I was like, oh, I didn't know he was on Bones because I was like, what does he look like now? And then I was like, oh, John Francis Daly. John. Oh, he's 6 feet
Yeah,
tall.
he's cute. And those dimples, the
Let me
dimples.
see. What does his wife look like? Oh, she pretty. What was she
Let's see
used to
if
be with Tate
she's worthy
Donovan?
of him.
I know. Oh, he's
He's
with an
only
older
39 years
woman.
old.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, he was 14 in 2000.
Yeah, I guess that holds
So
up.
math. Math.
Which
They have
is not my favorite subject or the one I'm best
neither
at.
tis it mine. But yeah, so this is my show. This has been like in my mind. I think once I was like, I'm gonna do Freaks and Geeks, that was just super set to do it, not remembering that every episode was like 44 minutes. So it's been a lot trying to get through it.
Oh, I thought it was a
Um,
half hour.
no, no. I feel like this is because think 99 2000. So you have Charmed, you have Buffy, and I feel like those shows really gave way to like the hour-long drama being
hmm
popular.
That's fair. I think I'm having deja vu. I think I had the same surprising feeling when I watched it, and I went into it thinking it was just a half hour show, and when I realized it was considered an hour show, with commercials. Um,
Yeah.
I was surprised because it kind of has a half hour dramedy feel to it for some reason. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. And so I do wonder if it would have played better for the public as a 30, like a half hour, but would
Mm,
we have gotten the character development that we get
mm,
with that? Because
yeah, how
some
much time?
episodes might split because you have your A plot and your B plots, and they're typically like, here's the geek plot, here's the freak plot, and if the episode does have a C plot, it's either like something else going on with another one of the geeks or something else going on with another one of the freaks. But typically, like the show is balancing something on both sides, so you're getting those two high school experiences with every episode, taking the time to like dive a little bit deeper into one character for each episode. So I think by the time you finish the show, you know these characters. But also Paul Feig went into this with like a massive show Bible that he'd written, like, here are the personality traits of my people. Here are like their favorite movies. Like, this is how they dress. He went in ready to like, here's the show.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that probably certainly helped.
Yeah. Which, I mean, like, I've never heard of a show Bible until, honestly, X-Men 97, when Bo DeMeo was talking about, like, his process for that. He even, like, posted it on Twitter, like, his original show Bible for another Marvel project, another X-Men project that he had presented before it became X-Men 97. And he was like, here's, like, a copy of my show Bible. Feel free to download it, look at it, use it as a template to build your own for your own projects. And I downloaded a copy of that show Bible, and it's somewhere on this computer. But yeah, so evidently show Bibles are important. If you're writing a story, do it.
Is it like, I mean, from marketing, like as far as like a marketing standpoint, or in marketing speak, it sounds like the show Bible is their SOP.
Yeah, and I mean, literally, that's what it is. Speaking of marketing, I wish I could find it because I saw it on something I was watching, and it was like another issue with the show is that the marketing was not selling you what the show was, and it had kind of like a different vibe. When I saw this, I remembered the commercial. I was like, I remember this.
This fall, travel back to a simpler time of life.
1980, and you find yourself in school.
Like,
wishing that you were cool. 1980,
you know, with Sarah Hagen.
teachers have long hair. 1980, this is what you get to wear.
Pretty girls usually don't get asked out because guys are too afraid to ask them.
Maybe I should ask out Farrah Fawcett Majors.
1980.
Freaks and Geeks, NBC Saturdays this fall.
Like, what was that?
Yeah, they
What
were
was that?
definitely catering to the nostalgia crowd.
And I guess that they
Like,
were like,
they-
oh, if we can get some older people on board, then it would do better. But like, I don't know.
Yeah, they were probably trying to capture the parents, right, who grew up in that time, and then they were like, well, if we capture the parents, then we're going to get the kids because the kids are going to be watching with the parents, and then they'll take the will. That's probably the thinking there.
Yeah, I like, where did they get that? Who told them that was a good idea? But here we are. And now the show's a cult classic, and they'll probably never do a reboot. I mean, you know, at least I know that, what's his name? Seth Rogen does not fuck with old dude anymore. They're not
No.
friends.
Yeah, James Franco is out of his life.
Yeah. Which I was like, oh, I didn't even know that. I didn't keep up with him like that. I remember like people being like, oof, on James Franco, but I never like knew what was going on, and eventually like had to Google it, and I was like, oh,
Yeah,
not him being a
hella
creep.
problematic. Yeah,
Like,
which is a bummer. It's always some of the most talented, right, that are
Mhm.
just trash in reality. We know that to be the case from like our most favorite shows. So
yeah.
well, that's really cool. I mean, because like talk about star studded, and I remember when I first, I think, heard about this sort of this show, and I looked it up, and I realized all these actors, super famous
Yeah.
actors that I've been watching for years and love. I'm like, they were all in a show together when they were kids. I didn't
Yeah.
even know this.
But like, I think I will always be frustrated because yes, that 70s show came out like right before this, but I feel like this may have just been viewed as that 70s show kind of knockoff, and so people didn't give it a shot. And that 70s
Yeah.
show was funny. It was a half hour. So, and it probably had better showtime, but it didn't work. Now I do remember them didn't they try to create that 80s show and it didn't work? Am I making that up?
That 90s show on that.
Well, no. That's new, but I'm talking about at the time, like when this was out and going, like when that 70s show was out, did they try to do like a very short-lived That's 80s show? I don't know if that
I
is.
remember reading something about it. I want to say that was the idea for a sequel or a spinoff, right? Or because they were going to be exiting the 70s, so it was like an organic
Oh,
way for them to
right.
continue. But
No, I don't think it. Yeah, okay, I'm looking at something that says that 80s show, 2002 sitcom. A group of 20 somethings navigate through San Diego in the midst of the trends and politics of the 80s. Stereotypically, the punks, the material girls, the yuppies, and the Madonna wannabes all hang together and find reasons to frequent a record store run by a former groupie. Regular characters on the show include struggling musician Corey Howard, punk rocker June Tuesday, and Corey's father, RT, who is representative of the decade's mentality of buying oneself extravagant gifts and having an excessive lifestyle. So this was a completely different thing.
wow, totally
Okay.
different. Totally
Okay.
different actors.
Okay. That's wild. I remember I was like, okay. So it had nothing to do with people being in school though. But anyway.
So
it-
isn't it interesting that both Freaks and Geeks and that 70s show both had like super problematic stars?
yeah. But what's so funny is that I think like the guy who was the problematic one from that 70s show, like
Danny
Seth Rogen's
Masterson, yeah.
character. Yes. I think Seth Rogen's character was like the foil to Danny Masters on. Like I
Oh,
feel like
he
if
was
you I feel like if
there.
you yeah, I feel like if you pay attention, like if you go back and look and kind of compare and contrast the shows, you're gonna see like stereotypes, like tropes or whatever that are similar across the characters, or at least with the that 70s show people.
And that is the half-hour sitcom.
Yeah, it's half hour, it's funny, and I think that people wanted that. They weren't feeling a serious show about high school in the 80s, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. Well, that's really all really interesting stuff to know. It definitely reinvigorates my interest in giving it a chance.
Yeah, it's a good one. And you can find it on Paramount Plus, Pluto TV, or Prime.
Yeah, I've seen it on there actually. Now I think about it.
So, yes. Well, everyone, I want to say thank you for listening to the Rewind podcast. Before you go, please take a moment to show some love for your favorite podcast by leaving us a review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts, including YouTube. Every positive review, rating, and subscriber helps. So please subscribe. We're trying to get to 100 subscribers on YouTube as we're just building it up. So please subscribe. How can they find us on socials, Jonah?
Find us on Facebook at The Rewind Podcast 1, or you can just search The Rewind Podcast, Blue Sky at The Rewind Podcast, Instagram, and TikTok at The Rewind Podcast.
Yes, and we'd love to hear from you. So for longer listener feedback, you can email us at therewindpodcast1@gmail.com. We may or may not read it on the episode, so send us an email, especially if there's a specific episode from Freaks and Geeks or No Ordinary Family. If there's anything about either one of those shows that you're like, oh God, I remember this, I love this, write us about it. We'd love to read it. You can find me on socials at Instagram or Blue Sky. Instagram or Blue Sky at Geeks on Camera. I'm on TikTok too, but find me on Instagram and Blue Sky. Jonah, how can they find you?
I'm on Instagram at JS Taylor Writes and keeping.it.reels with ZREELZ, and on TikTok at keeping it reels. Sidebar, speaking of reaching out to us, if you guys want to reach out, email us and tell us, or just comment on the YouTube videos or wherever, and tell us your ideas for reboots or what you would like to see if these shows were to come back. That would be so interesting, I think, for people to write in what like their vision is for a reboot or a sequel series or revival, whatever. And yeah, because there's some good ideas out there floating among fandoms that I think should be heard.
Agreed. Well, everyone, until next time, be kind.
And please rewind.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Just be kind and listen to the rewind.